I'm going to drop a couple bombs on the FD channel right now.
It's very flattering that people are calling us the West Coast Nationals. I don't think we're there yet.
Who are you rolling with?
I am rolling with FD.
I'm rolling with FD.
We are rolling with FD.
I feel like I see less patience in the hobby today. And I want to get your thoughts on that. When you hear of the large dollar amounts now around PMGs, what do you think?
What it takes for someone to spend that much money on any card.
Fanatics did something tonight I had never heard about. They have a lottery.
We got you on the lot.
Oh my goodness, we're both on the line.
Hey, Nick, you got to let me know who you're rolling with.
I'm rolling with FD.
Hey, Tony and Oz, who you rolling with? Then y'all...
You know we rolling with FD, baby.
Hey, Renee, who you rolling with?
Rolling with FD.
I don't think that the fact that they did Be Friends and Jackass is going to have any impact on how they treat sports cards.
So I asked you FD since we're rolling with FD.
Let's roll, man. What's up?
I never would have thought a little piece of cardboard would change my life the way it has in the last 4 years.
And the hobby is alive and well.
Alive and doing very well.
Alive and well.
You got to let people know who you rolling.
I'm rolling with FD.
Who you rolling?
I'm rolling with FD.
So go, Word.
I'm rolling with FD.
You got to let the people know who you're rolling with, man.
Well, obviously I'm rolling with FD.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Sunday, December 11th. We're coming to you a day early because we have someone really special to talk to. I want to have time with him to just go through whatever. And I've been looking forward to this conversation for quite a while. It means a lot to me that he's here. And I want to bring in Cblez. What's up, brother?
How you doing? It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very happy to chat with you as always and kick it.
Oh, yeah, man. It's all good. It's all good. You having a good day today?
It's been a great day so far.
Yeah, it's been good. It was, in LA here, it was kind of raining a little bit last night, this morning. But I just went out and the sun is out. It's great.
I caught the end of some of those games and they were pretty good today. I mean, the NFL is always fun in the morning. I like when you got a lot of games going on at once.
Yeah. I mean, Philadelphia destroyed the Giants.
Yeah, they killed them today.
So, the question is, though, can Philadelphia win a Super Bowl? Because they can do all this, but if they can't win a Super Bowl, it's going to get interesting.
I mean, the thing is in my opinion, in the playoffs, it's like you got to go through steps and go through levels. And the fact that they lost first round last year, I think that they're probably not going to win the Super Bowl, just given the fact that, like, you need to lose at a later point in the playoffs and get a taste of it. Usually that's how it goes from what I've seen.
Well, we got the blueprint a couple of weeks ago that if you can run the football against them, a lot of teams can't in the NFL, but if you can run the football well, you have a good chance of beating Philadelphia.
100%, yeah. I mean, the Commanders aren't even considered a great team, but they just ran right down their throats. It's obviously other teams are looking at that and saying, oh, we should do that.
And I think people fail to realize that sometimes teams will know, they'll do some recon, look at film, they'll know what to do. They won't expose that into the playoffs. They'll keep that thing back here until it's time to shine. And then you got running backs, people running all over the place. So we'll see. I wish Philadelphia the best. I think that city would do well with a Super Bowl. I know they have fans that they won recently, but before that was a long time before Philadelphia was really successful. We got to go back to even playoffs. I mean, Randall Cunningham, Chris Carter, Reggie White were those teams that were really good. But other than that, no Super Bowls for that city. So the city needs something. But tell everybody, let's kick it off here. Tell everybody kind of how you got started in the hobby. I think we talked about this a little bit at Delmar, but for the people that may have missed that, I wanted to bring that up here. I like to tell like origin stories. So it's like you going in and you seeing your favorite Marvel movie. You want to know the origin of the hero or the bad person. But just tell me, what's your origin story? Because I think it's always important for people to hear that.
So I've been in the hobby for a long time. I'm 27 now. I've probably been in for, I could say, about 20 years now, and I never left. Mm-hmm. I have two older brothers that were always into cards ever since I could remember. One of them's 5 years older, one of them's 8 years older. Mm-hmm. And eBay was coming up and stuff. And LeBron actually was like the biggest game changer because he was the most hyped prospect of all time at the time, and he still probably is. I think social media was around at the time, it would have been a lot crazier. But they were covering him in high school, and that was kind of like unheard of at the time. So everybody knew about LeBron. I was always like a little bit into business, and I love sports. I'm a diehard sports fanatic. So I found the sports card industry because of my brothers, and I just stayed in it because it has so many principles that I just enjoy. And my first national was actually in 2003. That was LeBron's rookie year. And I went to that show. I had an amazing time. And pretty much, if I like something, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to stick with it for a long time. And that's pretty much what's been happening with the sports card hobby for me.
I know one thing. I know you do videos and stuff on people that you're prospecting on, like Franz Wagner. Hold on a minute, man. I'm going to show you this. I picked these cards up yesterday. Hold on. And it was ironic that we're talking today. But hold on. I got some Wagner cards.
At Burbank yesterday?
Burbank yesterday. I got this out of 39.
Black Velocity? That's sick.
Nice card. I've been watching this guy.
Wait, I have that same card. I gotta pull it up.
Oh, we gotta get a picture of that.
I have multiple here.
I know you got a collection going, bro.
I got a big collection.
Oh, let's get a picture of this together. There we go. Yeah. Oh, okay. So you got yours raw card reviewed at a 9.
I have another one. 9.
Okay. Okay. And then I picked what's the other two here? These selects, both the same card, really. Pick these two up, and they're out of 199. I think he has potential, man.
Did you see he put up 34 points? I think on Thursday or Friday.
I think he has potential. He's a guy that it's interesting in the NBA. I was talking to some people yesterday. Went to Michigan. You didn't hear a lot about him. Decent player, but you didn't hear a lot about him. But in the NBA, he's versatile. I've been watching him play. He's versatile. He can take you off the dribble a little bit. He has a decent little jump shot. And what I like to see in a player is that he's transitioning, right? His first year, he averaged like 15 points a game, 15.7, I think. This year, he's averaging 19.3. He's taking steps. There's a game on today that Orlando's playing that I will be checking out. I just like to see what's going on out here. You know?
I mean, that's a really good point that you're saying that I think people sleep on is you want to see the numbers jump each year. And it's got to be like in percentages, also points. And you kind of want to jump in every category, but the main ones are more important. And a lot of people, like if someone's getting better consistently every year, it's reasonable to assume that maybe in 3-4 years, they could be a lot better.
I agree. And people who watch the channel and jump in the comments, sometimes they know me. I like to see what are you doing on the defensive end. Do you care about the other side of the ball, or are you just on one side of the ball? We know that players get contracts based upon how they score, but players win championships based upon how they defend.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm always interested in. Do you even care about that side of the ball? He appears to care about that. And I like to see that.
The thing is that Michigan, their team, their culture is a lot different than other schools. They're team oriented and they're more defense oriented. So I know that it was drilled into his head that he's going to be a defender regardless. If you notice, like when they play Dallas, he's guarding Luka. When they he can maybe guard he couldn't guard Giannis now, maybe if he got more muscle, but he could kind of almost guard any player in the NBA, maybe besides Giannis, honestly.
And what is his height? What is Franz's height?
6'10".
Oh yeah, he's got yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna be watching this guy, man.
I think he's gonna be. I think his upside is limitless. Honestly, I mean, he's not shooting that great from 3 this year, but I know that he's a better shooter than what he's doing right now. It's like last year he was more catch and shoot, and now he's taking tougher threes. So that's why I think his percentage is dropping a little bit because the level of difficulty.
Well, he's controlling the block a lot more. He has the ball in his hand.
Yeah.
He's shot it a lot more. He's not just standing over there waiting for the ball.
Exactly. It's a lot different. Your 3-point percentage could come down because he's taking step back shots. He's not catching and shooting, which is a lot easier.
And the thing about Orlando, when you watch them, they're trying to understand who's the leader of that team. He's stepping forward to be a leader. But they have, they've been drafting a lot of top draft picks. They got a lot of young talent on that team. Who's who though? Bo is stepping up. So we'll see.
I mean, it could be like a Thunder situation, honestly. It really could be, where it's like you have multiple stars. I mean, obviously you need an alpha to like be the leader of the team at the end of the game, who's taking the shot. But remember that Thunder team when they had Durant, Westbrook, Harden off the bench? That was insane.
Yeah, they're very true. So let me ask you this, man, and I want to get your opinion. Why do people hate on the Golden State Warriors so much? Is it because they've been successful?
I mean, I think it's similar with like Giannis or like Luka or LeBron. Like sometimes when you're so great, you get taken for granted a little bit. But I think a lot of people don't really understand the way Golden State like sees the game.
They don't.
And I think they don't.
A lot of people. They do not. I don't believe. I agree with you. I don't think they do.
They're far and away better in like the style of play and the way that they see the game. And I don't think anyone else like sees it like that. And usually people catch up, but I think like Houston back in the day with Harden kind of caught up. But then besides that, no one else has really been in that range. Like
Phoenix has tried to copy their system, but they don't have the talent to run their system.
Yeah, and they also like, I don't know. I mean, Phoenix is good, but you're right. They don't have the talent that they have.
They lean on Book. Book's not that kind of player. He's not
He's ISO.
Yeah. He's an ISO player. Yeah. And see, that's a whole nother thing we can talk about in the NBA. There are a bunch of ISO players in the NBA. There's a bunch of people holding the ball, telling everybody else to move out, and I'm going to play one-on-one, and then I'm going to score. But am I going to run around this court like Steph? If I'm going to keep running for 4 quarters, where you out? You watched your game last night with Boston. Jason Tatum was spent in the 4th quarter. He was done. Drained. That's because now we're asking you to play both sides of the ball. Not only can you come down here and score, you got to come down and score. And I think and play defense. But I think the thing about Boston is Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum rarely both have a good game during the same game.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. But I think Steph Curry's probably the best conditioned athlete in the NBA. I mean, he's doing things that other superstars don't do. He's running around the court, like you said. He's not like, he's bought into the system. And I think a lot of the times the superstars say, screw this, it's about me. I want to go get my max contract. I want to go make $40 million in a year. I don't really necessarily care about winning as much as me getting paid. And I don't really like that attitude. And I think a lot of players have taken that stance. And because the money's gotten out of control. I mean, I want the players to get paid, and I think they deserve it. But I think it's gotten a little bit out of control to where the players care a little bit less to win as they used to.
I agree with that. I mean, where's the hunger coming from? There has to be some kind of intrinsic hunger. You have to want it, no matter what you get paid. You got to want to be in the gym working, no matter what you get paid. And there seems to be certain players every generation that are like that, but for the most part, a lot of players are not like that.
But that's why I love guys like Jokic, and I mean, he's like the main one. Like, he's not even on Instagram, but like, there's not most players, I feel like, in the NBA, they care about being like global icons over winning a championship. And I think Steph cares about winning championships and not about being a global icon. And it just comes with winning championships, if you feel me.
I agree. So now let's talk about Joker, right? Why do you think the hobby doesn't really give him a lot of love?
Well, the stigma has been that big men don't sell as well, but I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. He's clearly like a top. The thing is, people don't even consider him a top 5 player in the NBA, and he won MVP back-to-back years. Like, do you get that? It doesn't make sense.
And then people say big men don't run the NBA or are not highly valued, but Giannis and Embiid are thought of pretty highly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the play style. It's how you play.
I think it is too. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Because Jokic is like he never dunks the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He's
nothing flashy.
Yeah, he's not flashy. He's slow. He's sluggish. He's all finesse. He's 100% finesse.
Always looks like he's out of breath or like dead tired. Yeah.
But I think he's doing that on purpose.
I think so too.
He's acting like he's out of breath because he knows he could beat them when he jump starts and he makes the slightest edge. You know the game well, obviously. The slightest edge makes the biggest difference.
If you ever watch old film of Bo Jackson will run the football in an NFL game, get up and Jim Brown too, walk back to the huddle like they can't make it again, and then come out and run you over, and get up and walk back to the huddle the same way. I think that's what the Joker does. I think he's always playing a mind game on people.
I agree with you 100%, and I think that it keeps the defense guessing. I think it's a smart strategy for someone like Jokic.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So let's look at, what do you think of the struggles of the QBs this year in the NFL? You know, we started out, a lot of people talking about a lot of different QBs, a lot of different cards being talked about, a lot of different prospecting and potential. A lot of these people came out and crashed and burned.
I think that with anything in the hobby, you kind of see what happens and then people adjust. So I think that in 2019 and 2020 with the rise during COVID, a lot of the prospecting prices kind of got out of control, and it might change the way that people view putting money into a younger player. I think that, I mean, I don't know. It's very case by case. The thing, like, I just think these quarterbacks, the timing was weird because they're not that great and they came in at the peak of the market. But if you look at like the 2020 quarterbacks, they're all great. And it's like Hurts and Tua came out of nowhere and or not came out of nowhere, but they're crushing. And they weren't supposed to. So people always, going into the next season, people always look at the previous rookie class and they invest in them heavily. But I think that that's still going to happen, but it's just going to happen at different levels, cheaper levels.
And I know you make content sometimes on prospecting. Like we were just talking about Franz Wagner. And I know there are new people coming into the hobby that are looking at content, looking at you, looking at me, a whole bunch of other people. And they're trying to understand, what should they do? What advice would you give to them on how to make decisions, what to think about, things of that nature?
I mean, it depends. You got to understand who you're viewing content of and why they're delivering the messages that they're delivering, and you have to. Ultimately, it's on the person consuming the content. In my opinion, it's not on the creator. But I think that, like me, for example, I'm not telling people to what to do. I'm telling people what I do. So it's like they could take that how they want it. But other people, I think, like, they do say, like, buy this or whatever. And I don't know. I just think that it falls on the person consuming the content. They gotta like decipher and look through all of it and then say, like, what do I actually believe, and then make decisions based off that.
I'm a huge proponent of people doing their own research, finding out what they need to invest in, or what do they want to buy, or what do they want to collect, what players do they want to follow, all of that. So I can see that. I mean, like, probably more than most people.
Like you just said, it's like, who do you want to follow? So a lot of the time, like, I'll buy a Knicks player when they come into the league, not necessarily because I think they're going to be one of the best players, but I want to have a connection to the player on my favorite team. So it's like, no one could take that away from me. I mean, the cards could go down, but I have a connection to a player on a team that I love, and that's what collecting is supposed to be about, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't disagree. What do you think? Switching back to the NBA, we're in kind of a transitional period here. We talked about earlier. I just heard last night, Steph is 35 in March. LeBron is almost at the end of his career. Durant is older. Who do you see in the future taking the torch of the NBA and really being a leader, or someone that's the face of the NBA going forward?
You're speaking in terms of, like, on and off the court, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I mean, with the way Zion's playing right now, if he gets more active off the court and he does he does stuff right now, but like if he speaks more and his opinion, I think will carry more weight. But to go to what you're asking, I honestly think that the NBA is shifting in terms of less one player like controlling everything and more like team. And I think that you kind of like, I also think the talent pool in the NBA has gone up so much. There's so many great players that it's kind of difficult for one player like LeBron or like no one can win on their own anymore. It wasn't really possible with LeBron. Like he didn't really do it on his own. I think it's getting harder and harder for one guy to control the game because you have teams like the Kings who like, yeah, they might not be that great, but like they could beat anybody. Like they have Fox, Sabonis, Keegan Murray.
Oh yeah, our
Like,
squad.
you got to have a lot of young players. I think that's like the formula that people were trying to do, but I think in the future that's what is going to work.
I also think that we're in a transitional period that some of these players may be getting older. Some of these young players at the NBA are trying to find out who they are. We're in the system right now. This is not like the back in the day where Magic Johnson spent so many years at Michigan State and Bird was at Indiana State for so many years. And Jordan was at North Carolina for so many years. And Grant Hill played for 4 years at Duke. And Tim Duncan was at 4 years at Wake Forest. We don't do that now. So people are coming out younger. They're going to teams. Some teams are sending them to the G League. Some guys are going overseas to play, maybe coming back, going overseas in the off season. So that's more of how do you get better now? Pool is a great example of that. You go to the G League, you play games, you come back. You're trying to woven yourself into the fabric of what the team does and the system that they run in. It may take 3, 4, 5 years for a guy to show who he is, and now he's 23.
I agree with you 100%. But sometimes in certain situations it's tough. Like you watched the Warriors game last night.
Mm-hmm.
You have a guy like Kuminga who plays in the G League Ignite for 1 year, which is not like they don't really teach. I went to a game. They don't teach you basketball like college basketball. So it's like he's on a winning team and they don't really have margin for error. So like it could kind of like if he doesn't figure it out right now, which he kind of is playing better, but he was bad at the beginning. If he didn't figure out, his trade value would have been diminished significantly, and he would have like his career could have been ruined. What do you think about that?
I agree with that, and that's the same thing that's happening right now with James Wiseman.
Exactly.
Now he's trying to assert himself in the G League, and I'm pretty sure there's some consistent feedback on watching film, how's he playing, letting him know what he needs to be doing. But it's on the player now. It's a little bit a tight situation. And then I got to believe, too, you're Kuminga, Moody, you're Wiseman. You're looking around. You're looking at Jabari Smith over here with Houston. Some days he has 6 points. Some days he has 25. Some days you watch the game, he's not playing defense well. You look over here, you see another player that's in the same situation as you, but they're on a bad team. So they're able to work out errors on the court. How does that make you feel? When you're averaging 8 minutes a game, maybe 5 points, this guy over here maybe turn the ball over. Not be playing a lot of defense, but he's averaging 16 points a game. How you feel about that?
You hit it spot on. You literally hit it spot on. If you're a young superstar, this is why you'd rather go to a bad team. You'd rather not go to a good team because when you come in, if you're not performing, you're just not going to play. But if you're on one of these bad teams, they don't care to win games because they want to develop their young talent because they also have other players that are young. So like you can be worse and you can. They're not going to give up on Jabari Smith. He's going to get minutes the whole year no matter what he does.
He's never going to the G League.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Loco had a similar question I had. Is Cblez a Warriors fan? So yeah.
I got family from there. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah. Loco says Cblez looks like the guy from She's Out of My League.
I've actually gotten that before.
Come on, let me look this up, man.
That's funny.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
It's a good movie.
Oh, I can see this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Loco.
I think like my the way my face is shaped is like
That's funny.
What do you think about the NBA? Do you think that these old guys that are big names, like, you think like they're the better teams, or would you rather be like these young and upcoming teams? Like, would you rather be like the Nets, or would you rather be the Thunder or the Magic?
It's a good question, Cblez. You talking about from a player's perspective?
I'm saying, like, if you're like the owner of the team, what would you feel better about? If
I'm the owner of the team, it's all about profits, right?
About winning, about like.
Okay, so if I'm an owner that's concerned with winning,
the GM.
I would probably rather be like the Nets. Someone that I see them as a mid-tier team. I see there's 3 different types of teams in the NBA. There are teams that's going to be deep in the playoffs, and they're going to contend to get to the finals. We all know who those teams are. There are some mid-level teams. You're talking about the Nets. They're a mid-level team. They're a team that if things go right and some people step up and maybe somebody else get hurt, they may advance farther in the playoffs than you originally thought they would. Then there are some teams that's like, it's like minor leagues. It's like people are just going out and shooting and jumping and trying to create ESPN highlights behind the back, and that's really about it. And a lot of times, viewers, we get caught up in those teams that aren't going anywhere. They're not doing anything, and they probably have a coach. You don't know sometimes the demeanor between the owner, the GM, or the head of operations, and the coach. A lot of times, that coach is just there. They're not making personnel decisions. They're not even saying who started tonight, and that's in baseball, football, and basketball. They're just there. And then there are some people who want to have more control, so they have more of a hand in that. But if I was a team, I would have to be mid-tier or trying to win championships, trying to put something together. But you look at the teams that win or get there. You look at a team like Golden State. The owner, the Myers, you look at Kerr, you look at the training staff and how they connect with players, what players do when they need to rest, what kind of treatment they're getting. All of that connects across the board. And those are the teams that win. If Cblez got hurt and you're my starting forward, small forward, and you are intricate to the success of our team, and we rush you back, we're just on you, we're just rushing you back, those players get hurt. Those players come back, they're probably 70, 65%, and they're going to get hurt again. Golden State doesn't do that. And usually you think about Clay. Clay rested before this game. He played a little bit in Utah, but he was really kind of – and you can tell when they play, there are some games they come out that are very aggressive. There are some games they come out, we're just running the court, playing a little bit of defense, grabbing some boards. It's not my night tonight. I'm just here to facilitate and stay within game shape, but I'm not here. There's some days Curry comes out. He may be in the fourth quarter with 18 points. It's Poole's night tonight. It's Clay's night tonight. And if you're watching, you can see that. When you have that kind of system, and how many teams have that in the NBA?
One.
That's it. And it's like a fine-tuned watch. And if you're James Wiseman or somebody like Kuminga, you're not setting that screen. You're not playing your role. You're not doing you're not going under for the pass possibly, or trying to play defense, got your hands up. You're not doing those small things. You're going to come over here and sit down. Now, you may see somebody else not doing that, but they don't play in this uniform.
The thing is, you could go 2 ways when you're on a team like Golden State. You could like be a superstar like Poole, and you could shine and learn, or you could be destroyed and be nothing like Wiseman. It's tough to be in the middle on such a good team like that.
And the guy that's in the middle is a guy like Looney, who was 2017. They won a championship, I think. Looney was on the bench in street clothes in that finals. Never even played. And then when you did start seeing him play over time, he came in for a few minutes. Draymond was still the man. He would spare Draymond for a few minutes. They're teaching him the system. Now Looney can kind of run. You see him telling people where to be on the court. He's kind of running certain things. But last night he had 15 rebounds. He's not trying to score. He understands his role.
Yes.
So I agree with you. If you're a guy who can shoot, score, do other things, and you're in that system coming up, you may spend 3 or 4 years or more before you really somebody releases the hounds and lets you just go at it. Probably not gonna be doing that for a while.
100%. 100%.
And the cool thing about it is with Golden State is, we talk about mental health. I've seen interviews with Klay Thompson and James Wiseman where they talked about not only are they going through rehab when they're out, they're also sitting down and talking with people about just how they feel overall. And that's important. I think sometimes we forget that. You listen to John Wall's story. He goes through an injury, gets a leg infection. His mom dies. How do you deal with all that at one time? And it's good to see organizations now respecting that and putting time into it because it's important.
Yeah, I think mental health is like the number one thing for everybody in their life. It's physical and mental health, but mental health gets talked about less. So I think it's more important right now.
Hero 3 says, I take the Jazz or the Grizzlies.
That's a big difference in timeline right there.
Huge difference. Huge difference. Interesting. Jazz or the Grizzlies. So Ken, you think Ja can win a championship soon?
No.
He's gonna look good. He's gonna put some plays down. You'll be like, man, he did that. Man, he dunked on that guy like that. But
I mean, I've been saying it for a long time, and I'm gonna stick with it. I don't change with the hype. Zion is the guy you want from that class, and it's not even close. It's just the upside potential is what I like to base it off a lot of the times, and Zion could literally be the best player in the NBA. Ja's more of a highlight reel, and he's very good, but I don't think he impacts winning as much as some other guys that he gets talked about with. That's just my opinion.
Do you think Zion needs to develop a jump shot?
I don't think in the mid or short term. No, I don't think. I think he has the jump shot, but why would you shoot? It's like if you're Steph Curry, why would you not shoot threes? Like why would you know what I mean? It's like if you're Zion, why would you not go to the rim every time? He's the strongest player in the NBA, and no one can stop him, and he knows it. So it's like, why would I'm going to go to the rim every single time?
I think he's taking your philosophy. I think that's what he's doing.
Yeah, no, he is.
Hey,
you remember when he came in against the Spurs, he hit 4 threes in his first game.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look great, but it goes in. I think he's a good shooter, but he doesn't need to. He shoots like 80% from he shoots like 70% or something.
High percentage from the field. I just hope that him and Ja can not get hurt and be good long term. Because when I think about players, right, I think 10, 15 years from now, what are they doing? And not just, are they going to make the All-Star game this year? You know, I just look at a big guy. I would look at Zion and say he's 290, 285 at the least. Could be over that. That was some years they were saying that Shaq was 325. There's no way. So he's probably at least that. Can he jump? Do all that for years and years and years? I don't know. But
well, did Shaq at the beginning of his career get high off the ground, or was he more of just like back you down and like put a jump hook over you?
Jump hook over you.
Okay.
Yeah, he would dunk on you, but it wasn't like Zion. I mean, Shaq was able to. Shaq was just so rare of how he gets off the ground and how he lands. I would say I don't know if they did a test, I would think just by eye test, Zion is coming down harder than Shaq. Like Shaq was just a very athletic guy.
I don't know like much about like the numbers behind like when he lands or stuff like that, but I do remember when I was watching Duke, like obviously when he was in college, they said he has the feet of like a ballet dancer, Zion.
Well, so he's athletic.
Yeah, I think he doesn't land as hard as people think. Like I don't think that the stress on his body. I'm more scared of Ja. Because Ja, he's smaller. He gets so high in the air, probably just as high as Zion. I know he doesn't weigh as much, but
he comes down.
He's going in and out of like small areas and stuff. And I don't know. To me, I don't think Zion, like, I'm not that scared about his health. I'm more scared of Ja.
I get it. Loco said he would take the Pelicans over the Nets or the Suns.
I agree.
Interesting. Who excites me on the Pelicans is Brandon Ingram. PJ McCullough as well. But Brandon Ingram is a player.
He's good.
Very good. Very good. The Kings have implemented the Warrior system. Yeah, they've tried. We'll see how long that goes, though. We'll see how long you can run that. You know what I'm saying?
The thing with them is they don't have the owner or the GM. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have the coach either. Mm-hmm. Mike Brown, it's like he's a good defensive coach, but it's proven that like he's not a great head coach.
I agree. Well, we'll see what they do this year. I like the fact that they got the beam going. And, you got a little social media up in there. It gets people a lot of hype. I mean, that's cool. But we know April, May, June. We're gonna see what's happening then.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. Yeah, Richard, Shaq was a monster. A monster.
How do you compare Shaq to Zion? Like, what's the differences in their game?
Oh, Shaq was Zion's becoming a better passer. I've been watching him. Shaq was worked on passing early because the biggest knock on him is rookie and second year, he doesn't pass the ball. Once it goes to the post, it's locked in with him. You good, man?
Yeah.
What's down
wrong? I'm good.
All right.
You were saying this pass.
So he was passing. He started working on his passing. But Shaq, when you just got him into that 3 to 7 foot, 8 foot area, he was just so dominant. I mean, you take the ball up, you really can't stop him. Their games are a lot different. Zion plays. I wouldn't even compare Zion to Chris Webber. Like their games are just different. Zion to me is a bigger Grant Hill.
Bigger who?
Grant Hill.
Okay.
Taking the ball to the cup a lot. Not a lot of pull-up jumpers. And Grant Hill took that through his career until he started experiencing lower leg issues. Like when he was with Phoenix and stuff, that's when Grant Hill's career was a little shaky. Like, is he coming back or what's going to happen with him? But he was a player that took the ball in all the time. That's who I would kind of compare Zion.
To me, I mean, I didn't see much of either of those guys because I started watching probably in like 04, 05 when Grant Hill was like past his prime and was also past his prime. But I think like Zion is, I don't know. I guess he's like no one we've ever seen. It's like he's the most physically dominant, but he does it face up. Like the way Shaq did it, I feel like was more back to the basket.
All right, back. He would face some. Then he would dunk. He would make sure when he dunked, he was looking at you. Shaq was all about embarrassing and breaking your will. So he wanted to make sure he did that. Richard says, I heard someone say Zion is Julius Randle with more hops. Similar bill. I can see the comparison. Zion has more hops, and I think he's naturally a faster left to right. I also think that Randle is overrated. I wouldn't want Randle on my team.
I don't like him either as a Knicks fan, but I do kind of see the comparison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see that. What's the question I have for you here? We talked about the torch in the NBA. We talked about the quarterbacks. What are your thoughts on the negative? And I always use air quotes when I get to negative content in the hobby. People talking about different things. I always like for people to express themselves about what they're thinking, feeling, seeing. But I want to get your thoughts.
I mean, for me, can you be a little more specific on the question? Like,
right now we have people talking about PPP loans. We have people talking about shield bidding. There's a lot of people talking about pumping and dumping. I would say those are probably the biggest three that are going on right now. That there's pretty consistent content put out, focus on those areas. And some people label that negative content. That's why I use air quotes, because I look at that as someone giving commentary on what they're seeing. But there are some content creators that those are the areas they consistently talk about. They're not talking about anything else in the hobby, really. They're consistently talking about that. Just wanted to see what you thought.
I think that people should be able to say whatever they want, for sure. It's everybody has their own channels and platforms, and I just think that people shouldn't be spreading lies and misinformation. That's the most important thing. As long as what you're saying is true, and it's just got to be true. If it's not true, then that's completely out of line, and it's, I don't think people should be lying. But I think that, I don't know. It's like every industry, I feel like people talk on both sides of it, and it's not. It's tough to like. As long as they're saying the truth, I think it's fine. But it's also not good when people take things too far. I think that people are personally attacking, and that's obviously not right. None of this is personal. It's all based on how people conduct business or conduct their content or whatever. But when you're starting to talk about people personally, when you've never met them, you don't know much about them, I think that's crossing the line. But when we're talking about like subjects in the hobby, I think objectiveness is good, and I think that people shouldn't be afraid to say their true opinion and what they think. That's, to me, that's the most important thing.
I agree with you totally. I couldn't have said it. I agree with every word you just said. Yeah, it's kind of exactly how I feel. Some people ask me sometimes, well, FD, what do you think about this, or this? So my content is something similar to what you talked about earlier. I talk about what I actually do. If you see me buy this card, then I'm watching this player. I'm looking at this player. I'm not buying this to go down a whole nother road or to make believe that this is what I'm actually doing. If you see me talk about James Wiseman, that's what I'm thinking about. I started talking about Curry at one point, and I was selling some LeBrons to buy some Currys. People said, FD, you're crazy. Why would you do that? Now you look a year and a half later, LeBron cards, Topps Chrome, just sold for $5,000. I had one that was a PSA 10 2 months ago. I sold for $7,000. Some people's like, why would you ever sell that card? I kept looking at data. I like looking at prices, man, and looking at how stuff sells and forecasting, in my belief, what's the future is going to be like. And something told me this card's going to keep going down. I think we're going to see that card at $3,000, $4,000. That was a $55,000 card at one point. So sometimes you just have to, show what you think, and that's what I try to do with content. What am I thinking? Am I on Instagram? What am I actually doing and thinking? And I also like to bring in a little comedy into sports, because some of the stuff to me is hilarious. Some of what these players do and what's going on these teams and what people are talking about. And I like to debate. A lot of people, I think it's an old school thing maybe. I like to debate sports. So if you have an idea about something and I have a different idea, let's talk about it. At the end of the day, I'm gonna respect what you're thinking and saying and doing. But then I have a little spin on it myself. And we'll walk away and be like, oh, that's what FD thought. And you'll say, this is what I'm still thinking. It's all good. But that's what we see every day in sports talk radio. But in the hobby, it's different, because I don't think a lot of people get into that side of sports, but I do. So, and I have much respect for anyone that's making any kind of content. I would agree with you.
I got to respond to that.
Go ahead.
To speak to that, I think that as long as people are like, the thing is, content, it's not like, I don't know. People can do whatever they want. I don't consider content like positive or negative, but it's more like people are just expressing themselves. It's more of like art to me.
Yeah.
And I think that when the hobby was booming in 2020 with COVID, a lot of people were just saying like, they're like, buy, but it's like they weren't really explaining like the risk and stuff. And I think a lot of content creators might not have like, they got to learn and look back at what they've done too, and then they change. You can't just look at what someone's done in the past and assume that's what they're doing now. I think like everything evolves and changes as the time goes on. The hobby changes. So a lot of the times when people are referencing things that have happened in the past, I don't think that's fair, because it's not related to what's going on now, unless it's like criminal or something like that.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I just think that it's social media and content is a form of expression, and people take it way too seriously, in my opinion. Like a lot of my stuff is like very like lighthearted, very like.
It is. I watch your stuff a lot. Yeah.
I appreciate that. But it's not just going to be positive. I'm not just going to go out there and sugarcoat things when.
You talked about things that you have prospected on and it didn't go the way you wanted it to go.
Exactly.
You made stuff about that, about how much money you may have lost, or how this card is so X% down. You talked about that.
I feel like people can do whatever they want, but on my platform, I'm gonna talk about the good and the bad, and I'm gonna be objective on the situation and just give my opinion. But a lot of the times, like you said earlier, you like to debate. I like that too, but in the world we live in today, it feels like if you're not on the side of everyone else, it's kind of like
I agree.
you're wrong. They just think you're wrong.
I agree
But
totally.
let everybody have an opinion. We're all like humans, and we all have the right to think independently on a subject. And I think that we should be able to say that in full confidence. That's just my opinion.
I like it. So when you look at the NBA now, and you see like the All-Star game is coming up here soon, 2 months or so, and you look at the players now, that we talked about you're going to have some older players in there. You're going to have SGA. A lot of people saying should be in the game. I think he should be. Where do you see some of these players 10 years from now? I know it's hard to project out 5 to 10. Where do you see some of these guys going? And who do you look at the NBA and you like? We know we talked about Luka, but what are some other players? We talked about Franz. What are some players you look at? Because I see him kind of on that road of being different. Who do you look at and say, hey, that guy's going somewhere?
I mean, I think I've told you this before, but for me, these guys don't come up every year. They don't. It's not like more of them are busts than do good.
Speak on it. Most people won't even say that. Speak on it. That's true. Most of these guys don't work out. That's true.
A generational talent could be once every 5 years, once every 10 years. You don't. In my opinion, it's like LeBron. Giannis, he wasn't a generational talent. He worked hard to get there. Mm-hmm. But like LeBron, Zion, and Luka are the only 3 guys in the last 15 years that are generational, in my opinion. So if you take that on average, that's once every 5-6 years. Mm-hmm. It's not like every rookie class. You're just going to, like, if you look at, like, I mean, 16, 17 has been better with Ingram and Jaylen Brown crushing now. But back in the day, in 2018, 2019, everyone was hating on 16, 17. They thought it was terrible.
Yeah.
But it's another example of you have to give the players time to prove out and show themselves.
I always ask people, if you took Steph Curry out of the 2009 class, you have Jamar DeRozan, you have Blake Griffin. I can't think of who else. I think we think that every draft class. So I'm looking at, I'll go back and look at old drafts on YouTube.
Okay. I think Harden was in that draft, though.
Yeah, Harden was.
Yeah.
Harden was in the draft. Yeah. Harden to me is like the guy who's done a lot, but really hasn't done much long term.
I see. That's where I disagree with you. I think Harden is like one of the most underrated players of all time because he kind of he was going up against the Warriors every year by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And
he was.
They were the best team in the league, and Harden kind of got close to beating them. And it's like, I think it's like if you were in the East when LeBron was in the East, it's like you had no chance. It's like I think it was kind of similar with Harden. He didn't have the opportunities in his prime to because the Warriors were there.
Just like when Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, all these guys played against Mike Jordan. I mean, if you're coming through that era, you're going to do some things, but you're not going to. When I speak about Harden not doing much, I'm talking about will he ever win a championship?
I mean, at this point, it's probably no.
Yeah, but he has put up MVP seasons. He has scored a bunch of points. He's top 75 NBA.
Yeah, I mean, to me, championships is a lot, but there's other factors. You can't.
Well, small percentage of players win one. Very small percentage of players win multiple. You're a legend if you get to 3.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's alluding to what I said earlier. I think it takes more than one player. And if you look at the rosters top to bottom today, you'd probably say, like, how was this even close? It's like Houston, it was like they were so bad. Like they got CP3, but if you remember, he was terrible for Houston. He's good for Phoenix.
Hurt terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the names, like it was terrible.
So we talk about like when I look at certain types of play. We go back to Luka. We talk about certain players. Talking about Harden. To me, there are certain players in the NBA. We talk about ISO ball that really hold the ball a lot. Their usage on the clock is kind of what I look at. You got a shot clock. How much of that time are you holding the basketball? To me, that's an indicator of future success. Like you look at a guy like Steph, right? I know they run a totally different system. There, he's running around, but the amount of time he actually holds the ball is very little.
Very low.
Yeah, he's low on time holding, like just hogging the ball. He doesn't do that a lot.
So I'm confused. So you think if you hold the ball a lot,
you're not going to win?
I agree.
If you got like Luka, if you got like Harden, if you want one of these guys that's holding the ball a lot in the shot clock, or every possession you have the ball more than other people, you're not going to win.
I think there's only two players in the NBA right now that you'd rather them have the ball at all times, and it's Luka and Giannis, because it's just if you're not them, you playing ISO ball is just inefficient, and that because they're elite passers, they can shoot, but they can also pass, and they get to the rim. So it's like if you're Jason Tatum and you're going to play ISO ball, you're just not going to win. And he's one of the best at it. And it's like, it's the same thing with Devin Booker. He's one of the best ISO ball players in the league. But when it gets to April and June, if you're going to do ISO ball, you're going to lose to a better style of play.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jokic does move the ball around. He's an excellent passer for a big man. I mean, he's going to find people that are wide open and get the ball to them. I just think those styles, some people disagree with me, but I just think those styles, when you have multiple threats and you got to defend this person and get over here and defend this person and get across the court, your hard team to beat. There's somebody that knows. Cblez is getting the ball, and I'm going to try to D him up.
And the other thing is, too, when it gets tight in the playoffs, because it always does, you're gonna not like, you're gonna be tight with your jumper. You're gonna maybe be short. You're gonna like, it's way better to get a wide open corner three than a contested mid range two. It doesn't matter who you are. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
Totally agree. Totally agree. What shows are you coming to next 3 months or so, 5 months or so? Where are you going?
I think I'm going to be.
People want to see you, Cblez.
What?
People want to see you.
I mean, I'm going to go to the big ones, but I think I'm going to slow down a little bit because there's multiple reasons. I'm actually going to make a video on it, but
don't let us spoil the video, though.
I'm going to the Burbank Card Show for sure. I'll be at the Mint Collective. I'll be at the National. Those are definitely can't miss shows. Dallas, I usually decide last minute, and I usually go. But besides that, probably not that many in the next few months.
What's making you change? So I'm going to talk about my strategy, too, after this. But what's making you change your strategy a little bit? As far as saying I'm going to go to some bigger shows and pull back on some other stuff.
Well, for me, a lot of people go to the shows like strictly to buy and sell cards, but for people like you and me, it's different. Like I like hanging out with the community, and I like creating content. I like having fun, and card shows are one of the best atmospheres in cards.
Yes.
So for those reasons, I do love going, and I've gone to a ton of them this year, but travel's gotten more expensive. Card prices have come down, so it's harder to make money because things are selling for less, so it's harder to like find margin and stuff.
Yes.
And I just think expenses have gone up and the overall economy conditions have gone down. So those two things are moving opposite directions. So it makes it tougher right now, as opposed to where I could just list some cards on my Instagram story or on eBay, and I don't have to pay any expenses to do it. And I could sell those cards probably easier on my Instagram page.
Hey, I appreciate you saying this because since we started rolling with FD, man, I've been saying this for a long time. And I say this to some people and they give me a look like, what are you talking about? You know, like people, we've kept travel since we started Cblez. We've kept travel to a regional situation. Well, we've been to the Bay. We've been to all over LA. We've been to San Diego. Next year, I want to get to a Denver show. I want to go to a Phoenix show, but that's still regional plays. You know, I haven't been to Dallas yet. I would like to go. I plan to go maybe on the back half of next year. Plan a trip for that. But I'm always thinking about what am I spending to get somewhere, and then what's going on after that. Like, am I taking away money? This is how my mind works. Am I taking away funds that can allow me to purchase something that I may not ever see again to get somewhere? Like, that just doesn't work for me. It never has worked for me. I love people. So I try to hit the shows that I can get to. And I love taking my children. I love taking my sons to stuff. I try to get the stuff that I can get to and have that same experience what you're talking about, getting to the community, talking to people. I could be at a show. We went to shows. I could be at a show for 3-4 hours, not buy anything. But I'm walking around the show talking to a bunch of people about different things and almost having the same dialogue that we're having here, but just at a show talking to people at their table. Like, what's going on? Or someone in the hallway that I may see. What are you thinking about this? What do you think about Tatum? What do you think about Luka? Just stuff like that. That solves it for me. That gets me in the community. Next year, we'll try to make some plays outside of that. But you were like one of the first people that I've talked to who's actually been willing to really give me their strategy on why am I doing this, why am I not doing that. And I respect that a lot because that's the real side of things. We got to all think about that. And we're not even that far away from each other. You know, you're in Vegas, I'm in LA. But you're thinking the way I think about stuff. Like I've never been a really impulse person, man. Well, I'm just sitting here and I'm gonna go to Boston. When there's a show right down the street. Now I respect the Boston show, but you know, we're not a channel that we take in funds. We try to bring all this content to people organically, you know.
I 100% agree with you. And now that I think about it, I've gone to way more shows on the West Coast than the East Coast this year. Like I went to Phoenix, I went to Denver.
Oh, you've been all over. Yeah, I've seen it.
I've been to all these West Coast shows because a lot of the times I like to go for even just one day and not even book a hotel.
We're going to start doing that. Yeah.
If you go Friday morning to Phoenix, you're going to spend the flights are cheap the less distance you go. So a lot of times I could spend $200 round trip maximum, go to Phoenix for a day, get what I need done in one day. I don't have to pay for a hotel, and it's just a lot better that way. But a lot of the times when people are traveling, there's so many expenses they don't even realize. Like last night I just got home I was in Florida for the week. I spent probably $300 in like 4 or 5 Ubers, like going to the airport and stuff.
Yeah. I went to Vegas. What did I go to Vegas for? I went to Vegas for an event, and I was in an Uber the whole time in Vegas. You know, back in the day, you just walked the strip. I was like, I'll jump in an Uber. I was probably in, probably 8 Ubers. I went to Virginia Beach for an event. I was probably in 10 Ubers. Well, I was at that event.
Stuff adds up.
It adds up quickly. 12 here, 15 there, 20 there, 30 there. Before you know it, you're like, oh, yeah. April, my girlfriend April said, the Mint. Yeah, the Mint. I was in Ubers. Gia and I were in Ubers all over the place. just trying to get around, trying to get something to eat, trying to get back.
And the thing is, I'm not even talking about setting up.
Mm-hmm.
Setting up, that's another $300-400 on your weekend expense. It's like the hotel is like, let's say $200 a night. The flights for each person is $200. It's you, your son, your other son. That's right there. It's like almost $1,500, $2,000. It's like
you haven't stepped foot on the floor. You haven't done anything yet.
You have to profit $1,500 at the show before you're even you're losing money until you get that back.
Absolutely, totally agree. We got a comment here. Christopher King says Geno Smith hype is over. Go Niners. Purdy looking good against the Tampa. People may say Geno Smith hype, right? Geno Smith has played very well this year. Geno Smith has done his job. You would never thought. Has Geno Smith played better than Russell?
Way better.
Way better. That's not even a question. So I tip my hat all the time to Geno Smith. He came ready to play this year. Came in shape. Knew his playbook. Put the ball where it's supposed to be. Has probably one of the lowest completions to touchdowns. I mean to turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
I respect Geno Smith. Vic says, respect what you do, what you both do. The passion you guys have for the sports are what real fans are. Hats off to you both. And what I really like about Cblez, I've never even told you this, is that we can always talk about sports, man. We may not even get into cards. I know if I'm talking to you, you know the sports side to even talk about sports. And that's good, always good to see. It's always good to experience. Sancho has to get a room when I pick up Sancho. Really? Sancho.
Wait, I want to say something to what you just said.
What's up?
That's the thing. Like, I'm a diehard sports fan.
I can tell.
And cards. And it's like there's a ton of people in cards that aren't even diehard sports fans. So I think that you can know the principles of cards. You don't need to know the sports that well to make money in cards.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you can tell who's a true fan, who's a true fanatic, who's real to the trade that they're doing, and who's actually like you can tell who's kind of making it up and who's being real. And I think that goes back to what I said earlier, where if you're consuming content from someone, you in the back of your head, you need to know are they a real sports fan, or are they just in it for the money, or what are they actually in it for? And I think that's pivotal for people consuming content. They need to know, like they need to do more studying on the people they're listening to.
I agree. Totally agree. To me, the eye test is a big part of my process. Like I got to see a player. I got to understand, I get down into who's the GM, what are they talking about, who's the coach. I'm watching post-game interviews. I'm watching interviews because every team has a media group that does interviews for the team. They're talking to people internally. They're talking to people outside. I watch almost everything. Anybody in my family knows that I'm always doing some bit of research somewhere, sitting and watching something, looking at something. And it helps me make decisions. Some people have different ways of how they go about making decisions. Again, I talk about what I do, how I really get into it. And I've been like this, Cblez, since really high school is probably when I really saw. I used to watch college football from the beginning of the day to the end of the Saturday night game. I mean, I used to watch, when I was 16, 17, I watched hours of college football. When Florida State was the bomb, when Nebraska was the bomb. I mean, I watched all that stuff. When I got to college, I played sports and I watched when I could, but I always kept up reading the paper. You know, how we got information back then was different before a lot of people had cell phones. But now it's just, I mean, you got so much information to touch your fingertips to understand what's going on. Like we're on right now. I already know when I get off of this, I'm going to find out what's going on in the game since I've been on. I'm going to find that out. I'm going to see what Brady did today.
Easily.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that research before I even get back on tonight with JD for another live at 6:00. I'm gonna find out what's going on, and then when I get off that live, before I go to sleep at night, I'm gonna find out what happened in the NBA. If people notice when they watch my Instagram, you start getting updates from me on what I've seen in different sports. Some stuff is comedy to me, some stuff is very serious. That's just how I do, and that's almost like a daily thing. But to me, it's not work. It's what I enjoy to do. I love following sports. I love understanding what's new in the hobby. I love doing market research to understand what cars are selling at, what's going down, what's going up. And I have like a good memory, but I'm blessed with that. So when I walk a show, I can look at a table and tell if I just found a good deal or not. Pretty quickly.
I mean, that's where knowing the sports helps a ton, because it's like I'm so deep in the weeds of knowing the sports. If you look at my content, it's like I was talking about Shea before anybody was, because right? You saw the videos. I was talking about Halliburton and Shea literally like a week into the season, and now everyone's talking about him. And it's like I'm gonna talk about guys that I see something in that's different from last year, and I'm gonna catch it early because I'm in the weeds of it, as opposed to like someone who doesn't know. It's tougher for them to get on the Shea train because they're not following it as closely.
Very true. I agree with that. That's what I think. What about Shea? Do you think Shea is this is the question I have about Shea. Is Oklahoma his squad? Is that his team? Or is he buying time for Chet right now?
Personally, I think that Shea doesn't fit the timeline of the Thunder. So I think that they should trade him.
That's
right
what I
now.
think they're going to do. That's what I think they're going to do.
Because you could get so much for him.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really Chet and Giddey's thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think he has played beyond what they thought he was going to do. And I think they're going to move him and try to bring some other talent around those guys on that team.
I agree with you 100%.
Where is Shea going? Who's picking him up? Who's he going to be playing with? You heard it here first, people. That's going to be huge news.
You're right. He needs
you match him up with something that's a real bull, somebody that wants to get after. That's must-see TV.
I agree with you 100%. He needs to move teams. He needs to go to a team that's closer to winning, and then he puts them over the edge.
Mm-hmm. And I always say one of the worst trades to me is when he got traded for Paul George. Even when they made that trade, I was like, what are they doing?
I don't remember the exact deal.
Oh, yeah. He got moved. He got drafted to the Clippers.
Yeah.
So then he got moved off the Clippers to Oklahoma when they brought Paul George spent that 1 year with Russell Westbrook over in Oklahoma. And then to me, one of the worst trades ever. I felt like Shea had more of a long tail of success. Paul George has a shorter tail. But somebody else thought something different.
And they probably, the Thunder probably gave up way more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Yeah, they gave up a lot more. They gave up draft picks, everything.
Yeah.
And Shea. A whole laundry list of people. But this is a good comment. Pair him with Dallas. Put him with Luka.
That's the first thought that comes into my head too. When anybody,
that would be very interesting. It's coming soon, people. Cblez, I appreciate you, man. I've had you here a little over an hour. I really appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you. I love what you do for the hobby. I love the passion that you have because I also share it, and I just love that. I love the way that you treat the hobby and the way you see it. And I just think that we need more people like you out there spreading just however you do it. It's amazing. I always love seeing you at the shows and talking with you. And I think that you're just such like a humble, honest, and nice person. And I really appreciate that from you.
I got raised that way, Cblez. I got raised to be that. A lot of people.
Tell.
Grandmother on down, man. Got raised to be. I was telling somebody at work the other day, if I'm talking to Cblez or the president of a company or the person over here emptying the trash cans, I'm going to approach all those people the same way. It does not matter to me.
That's amazing.
Alex King, good convo. Thanks, guys. Thank you for being here, Alex. Now, before we get out of here, Cblez, you saw the intro, so we got to add you to the intro, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to say one thing, and then you hopefully can say. But Cblez, who are you rolling with?
I'm rolling with FD.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate your time today. I'll probably hit you up maybe first quarter of 2023 to bring you back on. Now, I look forward to seeing you at Burbank because I plan to be there.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to come back on, and I'll definitely see you at a show sometime soon.
All right, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Thank you a lot.